Hey everybody, it's Matt McLaughlin here at pianoblog.com. This is the first video in my Back to Basics Piano Technique series. For those of you who are members of my piano technique course, my Fundamentals of Piano Technique course, you're going to find that these videos integrate with all the material in that, but you can also use them as standalone videos. And the point of these videos is simply to bring us back to basics, even if we're kind of advanced pianists. I think it's really helpful to review some of the more fundamental aspects of playing the piano and to make sure that we're not forgetting anything as we advanced. So what I'm doing is I'm taking each module of the Fundamentals of Piano Technique course and I'm going through it and just providing a general overview and some of the more salient points. And then as you watch this, if there's something you want to review, if you're a member of that course, you can go in and take a look at the more specific videos or drill down on something that you think you could work on. But you can also just use this video as a standalone video in your own training. So in the first section, I talk mostly about the role of posture and having a centered support at the piano. And I give the analogy or tell the story of Suzuki musical training, where in traditional Suzuki training, what you'll do with your teacher for the very first lesson is learn how to bow. And many times that's the entire first lesson is, can you stand in a focused way with your feet together and bow? And there are many reasons for this, but I outline a couple reasons that I think are really important. And the first is that control of the body is really aligned with control of the mind and of concentration. And so even if as an adult player, as an advanced player, if you can learn to focus your body and center yourself before you play, you're kind of bringing your concentration and your mind into alignment. And so it's a very good basis for a lot of technical thinking and for practice in general. And the second reason is that control of balance and a command of your center, of the core of your body is really the basis for all of technique, because it's the core of our body that the shoulders rest on, that the arms are resting on, and so on. And so if you have a really solid control of that core, and you're really grounded in a good seated position, that is the basis for all of technique. And I found many times in my own teaching that students who don't think about this and develop bad posture habits actually have quite a lot of trouble with all other elements of their technique. Because what happens is when the core is thrown off, when you don't have the correct support and alignment in the core and how you're seated at the piano, the rest of the elements of the piano technique try and compensate. So you get wrist alignment that's out of whack, you get all sorts of tension in the shoulders, and the technique as a whole is much less fluid because the body just isn't aligned. So even though it seems like it's very simple and it seems like something that hardly has to be mentioned and often isn't mentioned by teachers, this ability to center yourself and have a good posture and control is really crucial to developing a solid piano technique. And one thing I always suggest that students do, if they don't believe me or if they want to kind of study this on their own, is get on YouTube and watch videos of really great pianists. People like Martha Argerich, Horowitz, Gilels, Marc-Andre Hamelin is a good one. And you're going to find that while they might have this amazing technique and their fingers are moving a mile a minute, what actually happens with their body is that their body is quite calm. It's in a supple, supported position. They're not expending more energy than is necessary. And if you watch, just kind of, you can Google some or YouTube some of these videos, and I'll provide a couple links here. Watch how they've aligned their body to provide a really solid base of support in their torso for the rest of their playing. You can learn quite a lot. Sometimes when you hear someone play at that technical level, you might get the sense of like, wow, this is really complex and they must be exerting a lot of energy and really moving a lot and working hard. But what you actually see when you watch them play is usually an incredible efficiency of movement. They're using as little energy as necessary and they've got a really solid base. Now, for those of you who are members or enrolled in my Fundamentals of Piano Technique course, you're going to find that I go step by step through. This is how to sit. This is how to know if you're too far back from the piano. This is how to know if your bench is at the right height, and so on. But one thing that you can glean just from this video is when you sit down at the piano, make sure that you're sitting up in a straight posture. You don't want your body to be rigid, but you want your lower back to be supported. You want your shoulders to be relaxed. And then you want to make sure that every time you play, you get in a nice concentrated state and raise your hands gently up to the piano in a neutral wrist position. And I do have some other videos here that you can watch if you haven't seen my Fundamentals of Piano Technique videos that go more into depth about how to find that nice centered position that I think you'll find very helpful. And really what you want to do is you want to make this a habit. I'll actually have students practice sitting down at the piano and finding this neutral position and doing nothing else. Then they stand up, they sit down, they find this neutral seated position and nothing else. So this is just an overview of everything, but I hope you find that helpful. And please read below because I go in a little more detail about how you can be aware of the balance in your body and how you can practice finding this centered position. And I will see you very soon with the next Back to Basics video where we'll cover more on the fundamentals of piano technique.